stadium situation and all things that are happening in sports that you shake your head and you say, I don't know what's happening. And if you're me, you're saying that quite a bit. But if you're me, you turn to people who have their finger on the pulse of it. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. And we're once again pleased to be joined by our good friend and friend of the show, Jim Dreher. Jim, how have you been, my friend?
Okay, how about you, Tony? Good to talk with you. I always love getting the call from you.
Oh, thank you. You know, the same here. Jim is the editor of the Town Times in Western Connecticut. And Jim, I've been following, and it's like every time I pick up the newspaper or read it on the computer or something, I get so angry. It's like I have to put it down. This whole situation in Hartford, Connecticut with the building of the Dunkin' Donuts park. Now, in my poor little pea brain, I used to maybe not follow intently, but there was this very devoted team in New Britain and was a Minnesota Twins subsidiary and had a great community relationship. And the ownership changed hands and decided none of this was good enough. Take us from the beginning to the present day.
Well, that's the worst thing that can happen on a local level, Tony, is a good, solid organization falls into, especially younger, greedier hands, and they decide, well, this isn't good enough for us with the investment that we've made. We need we need a minor league Taj Mahal, and you're absolutely right. They have had a good thing going in New Britain for a long time. New Britain Stadium is a great place. It's everything about minor league ball that you should have, except it doesn't have enough corporate suites or club seating or any of this stuff. It's a good old-fashioned minor league ballpark, and the thing is, the Minnesota Twins had a very good relationship with New Britain for a long time. So many of those players on that Twins team that battled the Yankees in the playoffs every year, it seemed, from Torrey Hunter to a bunch to several others, played there.
Came from
and the Twins left, and it had been the Colorado Rockies. And when the team was sold, you just had a feeling. Because Hartford is so desperate to shed its image as one of the worst capital cities in America that they'll throw money at just about anything right now. And under the previous administration, they did that with this ballpark. Now, to be fair, it's a beautiful ballpark. When you're driving on 91 to the 9184 interchange in Hartford there, you can see it, and it's beautiful. And once they do have it up and running, and you see the lights from it, it's in a section where, it can do some good. But unfortunately, you just know that anytime cities get involved in these type of things, that a fiasco is going to ensue, and that's exactly what happened. And to the new mayor of Hartford, Luke Bronin, he inherited a mess there, and basically he had no choice but to take $10 million from the city coffers, and I'd sure love to know where they got it from. He had to take that money and shift it into funding for the ballpark. And he said it's either that or, the ballpark doesn't get built, which was shocking to hear. So the way things stand right now is it was originally supposed to have been opened by now. But now they're talking about sometime in June, and as you and I exchanged in our emails last week, Tony, I'm sure that the good folks in New Britain are having a nice snicker over all of this because they have a team, the New Britain Bees there. The ballpark's occupied, people are showing up, and in the meantime, the Hartford Yard Goats, which is just an awful name, they're the nomads of the Eastern League, and it's just a mess. It really is a mess, and somehow, some way, you have to think that if somebody is taking a look at this, a television station that may still have an investigative news unit, that this should be dug into, and there should be probably indictments handed down sometime in the near future.
Well, that was my question. It's if you go to buy a house and you're Joe and Betty Coed and you decide to, work and save and buy a house, and say you overstate your income $500, when you go to the bank, and you technically can be picked up on misrepresentation, bank fraud. You can be jailed.
You certainly can.
These guys took millions of dollars, and between them and I guess it's when you read it, it says "Do no Hartford." How apropos. They're taking millions, and it's like, we really don't know what they're doing. And I'm saying to myself, do we have two societies in this country or more? I guess we do.
We absolutely do. We absolutely do. And the thing is, Tony, Hartford is so desperate to become relevant. After losing the Whalers, there isn't an NHL or another major professional sports team that's ever going to come back.
Never.
That's over and done. And with Hartford's image problem, they're looking for anything that they can to bring people in, because you see people who may have come into Hartford in the past to dine or go out or go to shows or whatever. Well, they're going to the casinos now, or they're going to one of the other arenas. They're going to Bridgeport. They're going to the casinos. There's nothing in Hartford to pull people in. People go out to dine in West Hartford or in some other places where these cities have really spruced themselves up from a downtown position. But in Hartford, there is nothing. They roll up the sidewalks at 5:01 p.m. And this was Hartford's way of saying, we're here, we're building towards something, and unfortunately, this is just, every time you see that ballpark or you walk in now, you're going to be reminded of just what went on here. And if you ever come to find out, as Tim McCarver used to say, that dog ain't going to hunt and pass the smell test.
Yeah, and it couldn't be phrased any better than that. When you look at minor league baseball, the genre, the entity, nobody's getting rich generally in minor league baseball. I was reading in the Bloomberg magazine in one of my few moments of lucid reading, and the Atlanta Braves organization is serially good at taking public money on the minor league level and on the major league level to build ballparks that somehow they never get to pay for. But what they were saying is, minor league clubs really don't make that much. I mean, they're not necessarily, if they make their expenses, the big club is satisfied, and of course the expenses are, the salaries and the salaries of the owners and all of that, and you can debate that until the cows come home. But I mean, anybody looking at this thing in Hartford from the outset is like, we're not going to make much here at all. But yet it was this thing of, this is going to be wonderful and drag all kinds of people. Well, if you drag all kinds of people, you're still not going to make a lot of money because minor league baseball is just not geared up to do that. Why didn't they see this?
Well, it's the way it is with major league ballparks too, Tony. These people come in and from the chambers of commerce and ownership in the leagues or whatever, and they sell people a bill of goods, and it's been long proven going back to. I don't know if you remember, there's an economist named Andrew Zimbalist.
I've interviewed him.
Yes, who has written about the whole stadium boondoggle thing, and that these are just really not the revenue generators that people are being led to believe that they are. And it was the same thing in Hartford, the same promise. Well, no, we're going to build a ballpark, and then we'll build all these things around it, the restaurants, the shops, the same script over and over and over again. And it's just amazing how many people fall for that same line. Because you think about it, that ballpark is going to be used, let's say, 70 times a year maybe for ball games. Maybe you get a concert in there occasionally, but if you do that, you're taking that away from the other Hartford venues. So really, what are you going to do there? You can't play outdoor hockey there. You can't have a UConn game outdoors, as much as I'm sure somebody may be thinking, hey, that's a good idea. It really is. You're talking about a facility that's going to be useful, really 2.5 months in terms of dates out of the year. And, people, when the season ends, you can build all the restaurants and shops you want to around it, but there's nothing else going on that the lights in that ballpark are out. There isn't anybody going to show up to any of those businesses. For instance, Harbor Yards down at Bridgeport, beautiful
Beautiful
ballpark.
facility.
You know, I'll sometimes take Metro North out of the Bridgeport station to get down to New York for something. And you know, you just look at that ballpark, and it's desolate around it when there's nothing going on. And there are restaurants and shops nearby, but because that ballpark is there, it doesn't bring anybody extra into Bridgeport. It's amazing that, you know, they're selling hope is what they're doing. They're selling hope. And, you know, instead, this situation is slowly but surely becoming a joke and hopeless.
Well, the thing which I've never been able to get my finger on, and there's people who are a lot closer to this than I might be, they can't get their finger on it. The Eastern League, which is a minor league organization of teams in the East Coast, nobody really knows what they're thinking about all this. I'm sure they can't be terribly happy. And the other thing is, more importantly, no one really seems to know the number of years commitment that the Yard Goats, I feel the same way about the name as you do, must commit to this park in Hartford. I mean, is it like no commitment? Can they be out the following year, the year after that? No one's really talking about that.
You know, I believe they said it was a 20-year commitment, but don't hold me to that. It's probably something you would find, you know, Googling or something. You know, if there's the lease terms of the stories at the time. Yeah, you know, and the Eastern League is, you know, it's not Tampa rookie league stuff down in Florida. It's a serious league. I mean, Double A is where a lot of teams have their best prospects. Where teams will use Triple A, you know, the closest step, you know, to just give a little tweaking. The major development, the major prospects are at Double A ball in the Eastern League. So, you know, it's a league that a lot of people are interested in. A lot of baseball fans and purists love to go see those games because from this area, anyway, you have a Yankees team in there, you have a Red Sox team in there, you have a Mets team in there. So they come to Hartford. If you're a fan of one of those teams, hey, you know, come and see your future Yankees or Red Sox or Mets. It's a big deal. But no, the Eastern League in no way, shape, or form can be pleased about this. But you know what'll happen? They'll open the ballpark, and with our collective, you know, attention deficit problem that we have in this country, forgetting stuff that happened, you know, 5 minutes ago, life will go on, unfortunately, and you know, the people who probably should be investigated will probably be off the hook.
And that's the part that really troubles me the most, because especially in this state, everything that is somehow, if malfeased is a word, or where there is malfeasance, it ends up in the pocket of the taxpayers. Now, I love to go to a game just like anything else, but I do not want my house taxes doubling. I do not want my roads not being fixed. As it is, they're not being fixed anyway. You know, I do not want unsafe cities in Connecticut. As it is, a lot of them are unsafe anyway. Hartford probably most especially. And these are the things that, like, nobody really seems to care about and, you know, run the thing up. It's interesting to me. I have friends in Bridgeport, and since Harbor Yard was built, I think the housing taxes or the real estate property taxes have tripled.
Yeah.
And the arena have tripled.
Right. And you know, Tony, this isn't the only place where it's happened in Connecticut recently. Over in Waterbury, not too far from where I am in Watertown, the renovation of almost century-old municipal stadium has been another mess. You know, that city financed, of course, taxpayer financed, I should say. They had a grandiose plan for turning, you know, that old ballpark, which was in serious need of renovation, into a 21st century, state-of-the-art facility. Well, unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, and they're hoping to have the place ready in July for the, I believe it's the Stan Musial or Mickey Mantle World Series, and they're making a big deal of it in the Waterbury Republican and down here and everything. But it fell way short. The city had to go on the cheap to finish it. and it doesn't have a third of what was originally promised. They're just glad to have it done. It has no locker rooms in it. The bathrooms are portable for now. And it's just another mess. And it's like, can anybody in Connecticut build a ballpark for budget and get it done on time? It's not just Hartford, it's Waterbury. And to top everything off, last week there was a story in the Waterbury paper about how the people who were doing the sodding used the wrong sod.
Probably they were the same guys that... Yeah, I mean, they're probably the same guys that did the grates on 84 going west. I mean, it's like...
Well, that's one thing right now they seem to be getting done right and ahead of time is the renovation work on 84 through Waterbury is, they said last time, about 10 months ahead of schedule. They should have kept their mouths shut. Well, here we go. But, you really begin to wonder. And, you think of the old Seinfeld episode where George Costanza was getting into it with the clown at the party that he ran out of. And the guy goes to Costanza, he goes, "What are you hassling me for, buddy? It's just a gig." And you get the feeling that's the way so many things are approached now. It's just a gig. I just want to get through this day doing this.
Yeah, that's for sure. Eat, drink, and marry, for tomorrow we may die.
Yeah, right.
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I was reading, just to stay on the ballpark for a little bit, I was reading before we came on. I guess now there's an issue about fines and actually making a claim against the insurance bond. And they say that if there is I understand, if there is a complaint against the developer and a claim against the insurance bond, this thing could be frozen and in litigation for months.
And probably longer. And again, at the end of the day, the winners will be the lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly not the owners of the club who had this wonderful idea of, let's take the money and run. Just, of all the things that don't speak well in this state.
Yeah, and you just had a feeling right from the start that when they make promises about these things, that's when you just say, nah, even when they said mid-May they're going to open the ballpark, you could drive by it, like I say, and you could just see that you say, there's just no way they're going to have this thing ready by mid-May or Memorial Day, and, that's what it turns out to be, and, you just really shake your head. It's like, when you think back in 1923, they built Yankee Stadium. They built the original Yankee Stadium. What was it, 8-9 months?
Yeah. There's a little bridge over here in Pomfret on Route 97 that I think took like 6 months to do, and one disgusted resident along the road put a very nice sign up, and he said, "Do you realize the Golden Gate Bridge went up in 3 months less than it took to do this one?"
Incredible.
It's absolutely positively insane. What can we say? Stay tuned, and I'm sure we'll be having this discussion again on the air. It's absolutely unbelievable.
It certainly is, Tony, and it's up, and it's up to the media and watchdogs to really hold people's feet to the fire on these things. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to happen that way anymore. The adversarial relationship between the media and the people that they should be asking the tough questions to just doesn't seem to exist anymore.
And I thank you so much for bringing that up, because as this whole thing was happening, and as I was getting ready and stumbling out the door, I would say to my wife, because she was working in Hartford then, and I would drop her off, I'd say, don't they see that this isn't going to work, and isn't anybody asking the tough question? Nobody was. They were all sitting there smiling with, the Pepsodent smiles, and this is all going to be wonderful, and isn't it great, and life's coming into downtown Hartford, and nobody asked, hey, what if it doesn't rain, for crying out loud?
Right. Well, you know what it's all about, Tony, with it now in the media is access. If you ask the tough questions, if you make people squirm or they are uncomfortable, the next thing you know is your boss is getting a phone call and ad revenues are being threatened or whatever. It's just not the way it used to be. You don't, for what it for what it was worth, you don't have the Mike Wallaces or the tough questioners around, especially on the local level anymore. Maybe on the national level you can do it, but on the local level, I think there's a lot of intimidation and bullying going on, and people cozy up to people they should have adversarial relationships with to have access. It's simple.
It's amazing, and you think, like, you and I grew up in the greater New York area, and there was Milton Lewis, and there was Gabe Pressman, and people that would just come and put the mic in front of your face and ask the question that my God, he just asked that, and you don't see that anymore.
No, you don't. You simply don't. Maybe they don't teach it in journalism school, or what passes for journalism schools in America now. But that seems to be a big part of it. People are afraid or intimidated or bullied or whatever into not pursuing and asking the questions that need to be asked, because in the media, and I include myself, we are the advocates for the public, and that seems to be forgotten now in far too many places, where it's all about being cute now.
Yeah, I mean, the term "the fourth estate" stays with me to this day.
Right.
It's the last line of defense. The watchman on the tower. Guess not.
No, but I tell you, when you see things going on like are going on right now, and we're just talking about a ballpark in Hartford, but when you see what's going on a local, state, national, and international scale right now, you really have to shake your head. But I guess it's just the way things are now.
It's amazing, and my social scientist theory, which should not be taken in any sort of seriousness whatsoever, the most defining moment in American history in the past 20 years for me was the O.J. Simpson trial, because that proved to everybody, at least proved to me, it's not a question of right or wrong anymore. It's a question of what I want it to be.
And you're absolutely right. And I was watching, FX had a serialization of it on a couple of months ago, and I thought I knew a lot about it. As a matter of fact, I was on the air at WPOP the night of the Bronco chase, and I was sitting there in the studio, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, I cannot believe this. And that really was the tipping point for everything. And you sit there and you think sometimes, my goodness, if O.J. hadn't killed those two people, we might not have heard of the Kardashians.
That's absolutely true. And unfortunately, we're out of time. Jim, thanks so much. We know where to reach you at the Town Times, and we'll be back real soon on this. Take care and have a great week.
You too, Tony. Take care. As always, a pleasure.
And that is our good friend Jim Dreher, and we're going to be coming right back at you with some wonderful historical clips. You get the news here, folks. Let me tell you, warts and all, especially me, right back after this.